So with Mr. Z, we're going to also practice a little bit with novelty. So when you have a young puppy, remember that a lot of their important learning moments and experiences should be starting from obviously 0 up until they're, about 12 to 16 weeks of age. So with your puppies, doesn't mean they're not learning after the 12 to 16 week window. But what can happen is that's the most crucial window for experiences, again, within your puppy's comfort range. A lot of times socialization, folks will think it's how many new people, dogs, and things can my puppy be exposed to and then interact with. A lot of times interactions should not be your main goal. He's like, this bed looks delicious. So if, let's say, for example, we make socialization all about how many new friends can we meet or how many new things can we engage with, later down the road, as your puppy doesn't always get to do a hello or doesn't always get to play with that neighbor's dog or whatever it might be, is your puppy might start to get frustrated at not getting to the thing they want. So sometimes you can create a little bit of the eager beaver that then has a hard time rechecking in or settling. So for the handsome man, he says, guys, this cot upside down is very intriguing. So for Mr. Handsome, ready? Zeus. Yes. So what I set up for him is just some novel situations, so different textures, different visuals. For Mr. Z, he's like, I'm going to make this into wild man, a nest, he says. So the benefit of having novelty for your puppy to experience at their rate is then you can start to help them build their confidence for novelty down the road. If your puppy has very little for experiences, even just benign, easy, comfortable ones, they may find novelty to be really hard as they're going into adolescence. 2 puppies will go through a couple of fear periods. So the first one being from 8 weeks to 10 weeks of age. So if you're finding that as your puppy's maturing and they're heading more towards the 8 months to 12 months around there, sometimes your puppies might start to notice things in the environment that were seeming normal, but now all of a sudden your puppy barks because you put a backpack up on your table. So there are going to be moments where things will seem overwhelming to your pup. It is a survival mechanism. So if you notice novelty in the environment, you'll probably get to live another day. If you didn't notice that novel thing, which could have been a predator, you probably would have been eaten. So from the puppy's perspective, it is a way to stay alive and live another day. Sometimes, even though we might think it's really silly to be barking and losing your marbles at Santa Claus, it can happen. So even those blow up scenarios. So you can see Mr. Handsome is exploring everything with his mouth, which is so typical for a puppy. So remember, we've also bred puppies to stay puppy-like forever. So what that means is, unlike wolves or other animals that have a phase when they are puppies or they are babies, as they mature, a lot of those puppy or baby behaviors are, again, sort of grow out of them. Doesn't mean they don't enjoy play or being silly here and there. Yes, nice job. But you want to make sure that obviously with pups, even into adulthood, gnawing on things, exploring the environment, doing some chasing and grabbing are still going to be very innate to them. He's like, guys, I've got the zoomies and it feels amazing. So let's say Mr. Handsome, if we were to ever try showing him something novel, like this lovely tunnel, he was in it even before I started filming. I would recommend that if your puppy is showing signs that they're nervous, don't lure them into the thing. So if, let's say, the puppy was nervous about this cot, even if it's upside down, you wouldn't want to lure him, which means to take your food and try to bring him or coax him closer. Because if, let's say, he was scared of this inanimate object, we would then be making him choose between living another day and then finding food and feeling safe. So we want to make sure that we're not creating more conflict for the puppy or ruining your food or your cue. So let's say, for example, your puppy was nervous in the bathroom because maybe the bathtub's a bit spooky and you're slowly working on getting them comfortable in there. But let's say you rushed the steps and you went right into luring them with a piece of hot dog. They came into the restroom, you close the door and you toss them in the tub. The next time you try to lure them with something, they might be like, no, thank you. That was a horrendous moment last time. Luring must mean we're going to do something yucky from their perspective or overwhelming. So you can also ruin a cue. So I typically will call things a cue versus a command. I find that a lot of times if you go by, we're very literal. So sometimes when you say, I command you to do something and the person doesn't do it, they're now being disobedient, which means that maybe they need some punishment. So I find that thinking about your words do kind of matter. So when it comes to me, I like to recommend to use them almost as cues versus a command. So again, no worries, whatever slogan falls out of your face, we just want to make sure that it's more, could you try this or could you give it a try and see how you do? But it's not, I'm going to force you, even though you might be saying, I'm nervous, scared, or this is a little bit confusing. So we want to make sure that our puppy, so right there I used my positive interrupter because he was thinking, boy, this cardboard looks delicious. So we want to make sure, as opposed to being like no or yelling and sort of scold the puppy for the thing you don't love, think, what would I rather have my puppy do instead? So I'm going to see if Mr. Z, ready, Zeus, yes. So I'm going to feed him for this lovely name recognition. I'm just going to see if he wants to go ahead and try some of the items in the environment. He's like, I'm going to go ahead and do a little settle over here. He might think it's almost like his little mat from class where we do some settles and some relaxation on his little dog blanket. So we might do a little find it. I'm going to see if we can go ahead and just get him to sort of comfortably, yes, nice job. Go through that tunnel. What a good boy. So make sure too that if you are marking skills, do it as they're completing or just about almost completing the task. So in the beginning, if let's say you're looking for an SIT, we'd go yes and feed for that lovely sitting position. As your puppy's getting more comfortable or more fluid, you would then preemptively say the word sit and give your visual cue, which could be a hand going upwards. So you could go again, sit, and then see if your puppy goes into it, yes, and then feed for that response. So I don't love the wordage, but I'd recommend to think about it as bribing the puppy to do something is with the food, coaxing him. He's like, this is delicious also. And then from there, you'd go from the bribing technically to then a paycheck for doing the work. So let's say, for example, Mr. Handsome's got something he's maybe not supposed to. Again, it's not a huge deal that he grabbed a little mat, but let's say I'm not a huge fan of him trying to eat it. I might go, Zeus, yes. And as opposed to yelling at him or scolding him for grabbing the inappropriate item, think, what would I rather versus just saying no. A lot of times no doesn't show your puppy what you'd prefer. So obviously your babe is mouthing and teething and working through a lot of these different sort of situations with his teeth growing in. So you may be dealing with typical puppy mouthiness, but some of that is also because their mouths are uncomfortable and feeling sore. So right now I'm just luring him up onto the bowl. So the benefit of getting your puppy to try novel textures and feels and sort of environmental change, yes, is that now you can start to build in that, again, novelty equals comfortable and not always jarring or overwhelming and spooky. So we may find for Mr. Hanson, we started with the cot upside down, so it wouldn't be quite as weird. He, of course, right there, yes, went right onto the cot. If your puppy is hesitant, let them explore things at their rate, and then sometimes mark for those lovely skills. So let's say Mr. Handsome is rocking, going to his little spot. I might, just to build up value, feed him while he's on his place position, be it a dog bed, a cot, whatever you have available. That was one of his little kibbles, so he's crunching away. Nice job, sir. So this isn't a stay. I'm just getting him to feel comfortable, targeting his spot, and then build value in hanging out in a situation like a target mat or bed. Good job, sir. So right now, Mr. Z is doing a great job just hanging out, checking out all this novelty. So remember, novel items don't always have to be something that he goes and touches. Like if, let's say, he was a little bit unsure about this and he's going and visiting it, I might go, yes, and then have him take a little snack as he explores the item. Obviously, we don't want him to hurt himself. So if you're ever trying something new, make sure it's easy and simple, where it doesn't involve a lot of him using his body to an extreme. So because he won't be fully done growing till about 18 months to 2 years. So we want to make sure that when he's playing and when he's doing certain skills, it is within his comfort range, both physically and mentally. Yes, nice job. So just novel experiences. So maybe we have the hula hoop by accident, I dropped it. But let's say we were going to have the hula hoop go off to the side. Anytime you're just showing him new things, you can pair this with food. So you're now sort of teaching Mr. Z that when sometimes things wiggle or move, it doesn't have to be surprising or startling. Nice job, sir. He's like, I like this cot. It's quite nice. Ready? So with the handsome guy, we may even try a few different other items so everybody can see. I'll move some of the things around. But he's doing a really nice job. Here you go, sir, on his little doggy cot. Two, if you find he likes a raised bed, I do find they're really beneficial for a lot of dogs. You do not have to go out and buy anything you don't want. This is just an agility ladder, but I have it flipped upside down. I also have it just in half. So for the handsome guy, he does really like the tunnel. Yes, nice job. So every time he's kind of gone through the tunnel, I've marked it and fed him for that behavior. So that way, going through something that could be weird or spatially smaller, for some dogs equals some anxiety. Ready? So we'll get Mr. Z's attention. So I'll move some of these items a little bit out of range. So they're not right in our way. So ready? Zeus. He's like, but I really like my dog bed the best. Yes, what a good boy. So with Mr. Z, if we're going to try something new, I might try and get his attention, and I may technically lure him through the scenario. I also sometimes just like to feed the floor, so almost doing find it, or I sometimes call it the breadcrumb trail, where he says, no, I'm getting tired, lady, where he could go try and just check out this novel environment distraction. So again, now he's kind of working through the agility ladder. The whole point to an agility ladder is to get your puppy to realize they have a front end and a hind end, and it starts to help them realize how to pick up those little toes and get more comfortable with their body awareness. He says, tunnel. Yes, nice job. So you may also find that with your lovelies at home, even if you've got an adult dog, even exposing to some novel stimulus is a great way to add enrichment. He says, yes, ma'am. Add enrichment and some novelty for benefits for the pup or the adult dog. Oh my gosh, tell me all about it. Yes, nice job. So remember that sometimes your pups will also need a little bit of both physical and mental work. So obviously doing some of this is both, where he's getting mentally excited or a little unsure about something and then working through those feelings. But at the same time, we're pairing it with things he finds comfortable and within his comfort range as well. So we want to be careful that when you're exposing your puppy to novelty, it's not flooding. So flooding would be where you set them up, you go to Home Depot, and you just go to town, and your puppy might be actually shutting down or getting too excited, and then that might be the behavior they're rehearsing more often. And then your puppy might start to think novelty or novel environments or new people as being too overwhelming. Nice job, wild man. He's like, I'm going to create my own obstacle course. Good job, wild man. He says, I'm just going to do a couple zoomies through the tunnel. So obviously puppies can be hilarious, which is great. Ready? Yes. But you may find too that if, let's say, your puppy's giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time. So always remember to give him mandatory little rest periods throughout the day. He's like a little clumsy. He's got big legs, doesn't always know where to go. So, but you guys may find that with him, especially being so little, that maybe he's out for an hour, goes in for an hour. He's like, but I really love cardboard. So if, let's say, the novel items become a little too exciting, go into a little find it. And then I think we're going to grab a few toys and we're going to work a little bit with those take it and drop it behaviors, get a little bit of play, and then take a little break after that video as well. But he did a really nice job with the novelty of just these random items, and really great job trying most all of them, which has been great for him.